Hey everyone, my name is David Warner. I'm a Microsoft MVP with Catapult Systems, and today I'm going to introduce you to Viva Connections Extensibility for Frontline Workers. First, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm a Microsoft MVP, work for Catapult Systems, and a proud member of the Patterns and Practices team for Microsoft 365 platform community. You can reach me here at my Twitter handle, DavidWarnerII, or david@warner.digital. I'm a huge fan of the community and love to interact with anyone and everyone in our fantastic community. First, let's begin by talking about what Microsoft Viva is. It's a platform that brings together an employee experience surrounding communications, knowledge, learning, resources, and insights that are powered by Microsoft 365 via Microsoft Teams. And it empowers your employees and your teams to be their best they can possibly be. Now, Microsoft Viva Connections is one of 4 pieces of the entire Microsoft Viva family. It's a curated, company brandable experience that brings together relevant information to your users in the apps and the devices that they use every single day. It's included in all Microsoft 365 plans with SharePoint Online. Now, Viva Connections comes with all kinds of valuable features that allow you to engage immediately with your employees, providing information that is relevant to their everyday job. But it also provides an extensibility option where you can customize the look and feel of the components within the Viva Connections framework, in which you can provide them even more relevant, personalized, branded, and styled information that's going to take the experience to a whole new level. Let's begin by looking at what Viva Connections extensibility options are available to you. The first is web parts. The second is application customizers, which allow you to create things like custom mega menus or footers or headers. But the one we're going to focus on today is the adaptive card extensions. These are adaptive cards that are small, square, or rectangular functional pieces of information that are relevant to your employees' experience on their job every single day. Now, you can build these adaptive cards yourself. In fact, you can build them with responsive user experience in mind. What does this mean? It means that you can place them anywhere on the page, and the experience, whether you're on a full desktop, a tablet, or a mobile device the size of a phone, will still look great no matter where they are at. Now, your content authors will be able to author the experience using what's called the dashboard. They'll be able to move around these various adaptive cards to locations and in an order that makes the most sense for your employees' experience throughout the day. The result is a collection of dashboard cards that you're going to be able to provide to your users and to your employees that are going to be of value in a way that they've never had before. The simplicity of the cards ensures that the information they need most is front and center and not cluttered in many ways that we've seen in the past. What results from this simplistic but powerful extensibility opportunity? Your experience is going to look great no matter what the consuming device is. Whether it's a desktop or a tablet experience, the information is going to respond to the width and the height available, and it's going to provide you and your users all of the relevant information in a way that's going to look great. But you're by no means restricted to using larger tablets or full-size desktops or laptops. All the information and the content that's provided by the Viva Connections extensibility experience is going to work on mobile devices. Yes, that means even small phones, you're going to see the content transform in a way that's going to be pleasant and useful and usable and functional on a mobile device such as a small phone. So what are some of the things that users can do? Well, they can select the cards or click buttons on the cards to do some things like displaying quick view information or an input form. So perhaps what we're going to see is a stock quote or a weather report in some later demos. You can direct them or navigate them to a SharePoint page. You can do what's called deep linking into a Teams application, or perhaps accessing a site outside of the intranet or the employee experience inside of a browser, among many, many more things. Now let's spend a few minutes actually looking at a demo of how you can build your dashboard for Viva Connections. It takes place on the dashboard page. Now, it has to be set up within your SharePoint home site. Once you have a home site designated, you're able to set up Viva Connections right here off of your settings tab. Now, this page is similar to a normal SharePoint page in that you can certainly edit it, but when you edit it, you can see it's gone into the mobile view. You can also look at it in a desktop view, so you can adjust the views that you have. And I'll leave it in mobile because that displays the nice experience that someone is going to get on a phone or perhaps a small tablet. Now you add one of your adaptive card extensions by simply clicking on the plus icon, and that's very much like the normal web part experience on a SharePoint page. Now I've preloaded this site with a number of adaptive card extensions, or what it is that we create to extend the Viva Connections experience. These are all samples that have been created by the community and available, and you could start using them for free. And I'll even give you the links on how you can access them near the end of the video. Now, one thing I want to point out before we start placing some of these adaptive cards onto our dashboard, they're all predefined to pull in data from a very specific place. So, for example, the stock ticker is preset to pull in the stock price for Microsoft. The My Twitter feed has been predefined to pull in the SharePoint feed. They've all been preset up, pointing as samples to a specific preset content provider, but you would obviously want to set them up to be pulling in data that's relevant to the individual user that's viewing the dashboard. So it would pull data that's relevant to them. So if it was looking at things like expense reports, for example, or flight information, it might tie back to that personal information that's already stored in your corporate data store or wherever it is that you store your information. So let's start out by just adding a couple simple adaptive card extensions. We're going to add stock ticker. We see Microsoft company stock is up. We'll go a little bit more in depth on how that information can be displayed. We'll come in, we'll also add the My Twitter feed. We see that it's gonna 3 new tweets. We'll look a little bit more in depth there. And then let's add the weather, the office weather. Now, again, you see as I hover over these, we get little menus on the left, very similar to web parts on a normal SharePoint page. Adaptive cards work much in the same way in that we can create property panels to allow us to include or identify additional information from a display perspective. So in this case, I can actually change the card size. Here it's medium, which is that square size. I'm going to go large. And then you see that it actually goes more to a rectangle size, providing more information to us that we're going to see when we publish. So I'm going to publish. And now that we published, we're able to interact with our adaptive card extensions. So for example, we see that there's a little button here on Microsoft. As I hover over that, it gives us that indicative icon that it can be clicked. I'm going to click that, and now it shows us what the current stock price is for Microsoft, what it was open, high, low, a little more information. On the tweet side, I'm able to click on the view feed, and now we see that information has been displayed. I can even rotate here through the tweets and see the information if I wanted to. I can click view in Twitter, I can click view link, so we can see that there's more engagement on this than just simply the information that is being displayed in the smaller view of the medium-sized adaptive card. So I don't need to see all of that at first, but I, as the user or the employee, make the choice to see the information that's relevant to me. But I have at my fingertips all that matters. And if I click on office weather, we see that there's a preset collection of locations: Boston, New York, and Iceland. Derek Cash Peterson is the person that created this example. Awesome developer, member of the community. And again, this is one of the examples that you'll be able to access and implement in your own environment for free if you'd like. By accessing the samples location that I'll give you the links for. And as I had mentioned, all 3 of these examples so far are pulling in data from a predefined location for the information that's applicable to the individual adaptive card. So we predefined Microsoft, SharePoint, and specific office weather locations. But what if there's information that we would like to set per particular adaptive card that might be relevant to our organization? I'm going to use the company news adaptive card here. I'm going to edit that. Now I'm going to throw it into edit mode here, and a couple of things to take note. We're going to increase it to large. I want it to take up the same space as the weather. And then there's other configurable properties here. So we've got the title, which is displayed, and we can change that. We've got the description, which is displayed, and we can change that as well. And then we've got a location where you can enter a URL for the site collection of where our company news is located. Now maybe we want to change this to something like community news. So I'm just going to change that to community news. We see it's changing as I type. I'm just going to say news about the M365 platform community. And I'm not going to change the URL for the news because I don't have a location to point that to for this particular demo, but I just wanted to highlight that you can do that, and we can make changes that are representative here within the adaptive card. The description doesn't necessarily need to be something that we define here, but it's nice. So I'm just going to click publish. Now, when I've done that, we see it's gone back into the published view, and it's ready for us to be able to engage with that particular adaptive card. And so now I'm able to click on it just like I have any of the other adaptive cards, and we can see it's pulling in community news or the news that we've identified. I can scroll through that. I can even I can view the full article. And so again, we've provided a glimpse of information to our users, our employees, in a way that allows them to consume a good broad depth of the valuable information that we have available to them in our organization, but we've not overwhelmed them with the information within our dashboard. We've given them the access to the information, as we can see by clicking on it. We're able to engage with it. So it's made it very clean in a very nice way for us to see a glimpse of all the information. And then as a user, we make the choice of how and where and what we want to see more information about with each of these adaptive cards. Now, I also wanted to just briefly mention before we show how to place this dashboard onto an actual SharePoint page, all the information that we've decided to provide as configurable properties was really arbitrary in this case, right? We absolutely could have had that information pulled in from some other data source. It didn't have to be a property text field that we could edit like we did here for community news or the description. We could have pulled that data in from somewhere else and displayed it if we had liked. So realize there's a wide spectrum of configurability and choices to be made, but the valuable thing about these particular samples is that they're a good starting point. And again, they are absolutely free for you to access, and we'll give you that URL at the end of the session. Now, I also wanted to just briefly mention before we show how to place this dashboard onto an actual SharePoint page, all the information that we've decided to provide as configurable properties was really arbitrary in this case, right? We absolutely could have had that information pulled in from some other data source. It didn't have to be a property text field that we could edit like we did here for community news or the description. We could have pulled that data in from somewhere else and displayed it if we had liked. So realize there's a wide spectrum of configurability and choices to be made, but the valuable thing about these particular samples is that they're a good starting point. And again, they are absolutely free for you to access, and we'll give you that URL at the end of the session. Now, as promised, all of the samples that I used in the demonstrations today are available to you for free at aka.ms/SPFX-ACES. They're all contributed by the community. They're all available for you to download, extend the functionality of them to do even more. In fact, we'd love to have you contribute back to the community if you make changes or enhancements to those, but at the very least, they're available for you to start beginning to use in your organization to see how the adaptive card extensions can be put to the best use for your employees. One last resource I'd like to provide for you if you're looking for some assistance in keeping up with the latest and greatest in the Microsoft 365 ecosystem is the developer community calls. This is a collection of calls that are promoted and presented by Microsoft employees, MVPs, members of the community. They're showing off things that they've created. The samples that you saw in this demo have been demonstrated there and presented on. I highly recommend visiting all these links and investigating which of these calls are going to be of value to you. They are all invaluable. I have them all on my personal calendar, and I recommend you identifying which are going to be the most beneficial for you, but you will not be sorry joining and signing up for any or all of them.